the money.
Yeah, if inflation goes up, the price of gold goes up.
I think
Goes
you hit
down,
it.
and their cost of doing business goes down as well. So
There you go. A buy, and a buy.
agree.
All right. Let's do a hard transition here. Sorry. If you're watching this on YouTube, I just ate a snack and, sorry, apologize. Um, let's talk trade deals, right? Because this is apparently what I cover now every week is the latest and greatest on the trade deals. Um, let's go with Japan and the chip makers because it's going to affect. I mean, the EU deal was a big deal, huge deal. Japan's trade deal has an effect on Taiwan as well, and here's how. So this is a article that came out on Reuters. It came out yesterday at 11:26 a.m. Says Japan says $550 billion package and trade deal could finance Taiwanese chipmaker in the U.S. So that was part of the agreement that they had with the U.S. tariff deal was that Japan would invest $550 billion in the United States. Well, what they said, what they're learning is they can use that money to go ahead and give to Taiwan Semiconductor to build a chip manufacturing plant in the United States. Or TSMC is saying that, hey, let me just take 100 billion of it or 65 billion of that and use to build some of our plants in the United States. And the Trump administration is saying that they are good if those two countries or companies or however you want to word it kind of put their trade deals together and use that money in that regard. Everybody's okay with that.
So
There's nothing saying that they have
Japan,
to be separate.
Japan and Taiwan Semiconductor.
Yeah. So Japan's trade deal that they announced that they would invest X amount of dollars can be used to fund Taiwan Semiconductors deal that was part of Taiwan's plan deal. They can be used in conjunction with each other. In other words,
Why? I wonder why.
I don't know, but
Why would that
they
even
said
be a good
everybody
deal?
said it's okay and they could do that.
Okay. Why? I don't know why they'd want to.
Hey,
It's two
it all
different
works together.
countries. Taiwan's not in Japan. It's
Yes, I know, but this the article goes into if you read the articles on the Reuters Newswire, covers it all.
okay.
Um, go ahead.
No, you're good.
All right, so most of this $550 billion is going to come from loans and guarantees. The White House actual statement is that the U.S. will retain 90% of the profits from this package. Crazy. Clarified that the figure refers only to returns on investment and equity, which will represent a small fraction of the total returns. While Japan initially hoped to secure half of all the returns and a loss from the concession on profit sharing would be marginal compared to the roughly 10 trillion yen or 67 billion in tariff costs that could be avoided if everybody agrees to this deal. So,
Okay.
yeah. So
So there's a
Japan's
there's a
yeah,
condition here that says that Taiwan Semiconductor must use Japanese components or tailor their products to meet Japanese demand.
there you go.
I don't know what the last part of that means. It doesn't specify, but
Well, this goes hand in hand with this next article, right? This next article, and that's why I want to jump right into this because they go together. So this was released 41 minutes before we started this podcast at 4 p.m. So 3:20. The headline reads U.S. to release result of probe in the chip imports in 2 weeks. So they're going to release, they did this whole probe in the chip imports saying whether or not it violates this or it's a security risk here, what have you. They're going to release the results in 2 weeks. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said on Sunday, as President Trump suggested, higher tariffs were on the horizon. They said they were going to release these results in 2 weeks. He told reporters after a meeting between Trump and European Commission President Ursula von they lay in that the investigation was one of the key reasons that the European Union sought to negotiate a broader trade agreement that would resolve all things at one time. So they're saying that these investigations kind of made the EU come to the table quicker to go ahead and get in front of what they were looking into and what they found. Um, So it allowed that the deal that was announced was across the board 15% tariffs on EU in products entering in, but Trump said the agreement with the EU was included autos, which face a higher 25% tariff under a separate tariff action. So it's very complicated when you start looking into this, right?
Mhm.
Now the probe itself, it was being conducted under Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, and it could lay the groundwork for new tariffs on imports in both sectors, auto and just strictly semiconductors by themselves. They have a separate investigation under the same law onto imports of copper and lumber as well. So everybody's trying to rush to get to the table and secure these deals before these investigations get announced and finalized.
Gotcha.
And that's what's so big about these announcements. And that's why I believe Japan and Taiwan were in a hurry to rush, especially those two countries have a big deal with semiconductors and they need them. And so it was important to get it done before all these investigations were complete and they would come to the table with what they want to do moving forward.
Gotcha.
All right. So as far as investments goes, it doesn't change any of the investments I currently have. But if I owned Taiwan Semiconductor, I would be a little concerned about what this report says, having read all these articles. I would be concerned. I would be worried. If you were thinking about buying a semiconductor, I would put on pause until we hear what the report says. If you already own one, I would just hold if you don't have another reason to sell. I would just hold until after the report comes out.
Okay.
So that's my advice or tips or whatever you want to call it, I guess. What I would do is I'm just saying this is what I would do. Last headline is this came out just today at 1:10 p.m. Facebook co-founder Dustin Moskovitz just doubled down on Asana, Asana, with a big stock buy. So Dustin Moskovitz is the director of Asana and has increased his stake in the company. He acquired another 225,000 shares over there just recently this past week. Average price of $15.04 a share. His total investments, are currently now up to 54 million shares plus approximately $818 million worth of shares. So huge owner of this company. He's one of the biggest insiders of this company. He wants to show belief in the company as it moves forward. Well, if I owned that many shares of a company, I would too. I would want other stockholders to want to really jump in on this. The thing with Asana is I looked into some of their numbers. Great profit margin, by the way, 92% profit margin. Love to see
Wow.
that, right? Debt to assets wasn't quite where I wanted it. Um, the revenue is in the hundreds of millions. I see why it's at $15 a share. It's not in the billions yet. It's a software and advice company for other companies. So kind of like a SAP or Workday or Okta or something like that, working with other companies. It jumped up to $150 a share in the after COVID for about 1 year, and then it came back down, and it's been hovering between the 10 to $25 range ever since.
Wow.
So about 2022, it came back down, and it's been staying in that range for the last 3 years, and has not worked out of that range. And he's trying to make a push to broader commercialize and grow the company. I don't know. I don't know. I understand the thought and reasoning behind here. Everybody thought that this would break out when everybody was working at home and we had to use broader communication style. But then other companies such as Slack really took off. Other Salesforce took off. Those companies really benefited from it. His company Asana did not benefit as much as the others, and it's seen in the stock price. And so I am not a buyer at all of this company. So
Yeah.
I just want to cover what the headline says, what I looked into based off the headline, and where I'm at right now.
Okay, cool.
All right, let's get into some earnings, shall we?
Hmm.
Big week of earnings. I don't have time. Again, if you're listening, I don't have time to cover every great company that has report earnings this week, right? I'm only going to cover like the big names, the big news, or anything that I'm interested in, and then that's what I cover. So I keep getting people say, "Hey, you didn't say this." You didn't say, there's too many. So Tuesday before the bell, we have P&G. That's a big one. It usually gives you a broad base and lets you see how the whole overall market economy is doing. Also, Ares Capital, that's one I own, and I've recommended on the show to people to own if they're looking for a dividend paying stock. That's a good. The earnings calls are usually determine whether or not I want to continue holding it or not. It gives me an update on the company. They've been really consistent and reliable. I don't see a reason for me to sell unless they have some huge negative news coming out. But we would have seen the stock price show that already ahead of time. Also, Tuesday before the bell, United Health. There are some huge headwinds here with United Health right now. I want to see what they have to say about their legal issues and concerns. Brandon, I know you have something you mentioned earlier this week in our group chat about United Health has some headwinds, but
Oh my goodness, yeah. I mean, the
let's
worst of the worst.
yeah. Yeah, let's see what happens. You know, they have a new CEO, of course, and we all know why. But then the ends it doesn't end there. They had another big relevant legal issues and challenges starting in court this week as well. After the bell on Tuesday, Starbucks. I want to see how the new CEO was doing in the most recent quarter. See if maybe this is opportunity to get in on Starbucks after they had to dip down because of the change. In the changes. No, they had to dip up because they brought in the Chipotle CEO. I had it reversed in my mind. I don't know why I did, but I did.
What's a
Hey,
dip up?
the gap up. They gap. Thank you for correcting me. Gap up. Man, it's a good thing we've known each other for what, 15, 16 years? Man, I've known you too long. All right. Wednesday before the bell, Altria Mo. That's another one I recommend on the show. It has gapped up a ton over the past year. Really moved up strong. I want to see if they are seeing the continued growth or not. After the bell on Wednesday, we have a lot. Ready? I'm only going to cover four. Four. There's too many on after the bell on Wednesday to really cover everything. Pick and choose. There's a lot to cover on Wednesday. You have ARM Holdings, semiconductors. See what they have to say about the latest report. You got Meta coming out. That's a big one. Microsoft coming out after the bell on Wednesday, and Robinhood coming out after the bell on Wednesday. A lot of news. I want to see Robinhood in regard to crypto and retail trading, but Meta and Microsoft are a good driver of the overall markets as well currently. Um, Thursday before the bell, CVS. The reason why I watch them, they're one of the biggest, if not the biggest PBM in the United States as far as pharmacies, pharmaceutical. Trump has been very critical of the pharmaceutical industry. He has been calling for a crackdown of the pharmaceutical industry and making prices on drugs. The United States pay no less than the cheapest one elsewhere, so on and so forth. We've heard a lot about this. I want to see what they have to say on their earnings call in regard to that law there, and then the whole Medicare investigations going on, what CVS has to say about that. So after the bell on Thursday, we have Amazon Prime Day. How did they do? What are the numbers from Prime Day? I know Brandon, you said they had a great week, but did I have not? Did Amazon already report? Am I reading this
I
wrong?
believe they did. Let me look it up.
All right. So while Brandon's looking at, I'm going to continue. Coinbase coming up after the bell. Maybe I have the wrong week, and I'm just reading off things that I've already reported. Coinbase after the bell on Thursday. That's another one. And
Oh, you're right. Amazon reports on July 31st.
yep. So you were looking at e-commerce sales for the previous week. It was the week I was
Right.
off in Florida, and e-commerce sales as a whole was up. It was a
Right.
great week for e-commerce sales. Apple question mark I have here because they don't know if they're going to report this week or not. They're in as a maybe, which is weird for Apple. Usually they have an exact date and they even have told you ahead of time how they're going to report. So question mark Apple maybe Thursday after the bell. But Coinbase is crypto market. I own crypto. I trade crypto. I want to see how they're doing. And then Friday, Exxon and Chevron. Let's see the oil market and oil futures. Possible sanctions coming on Russia. A lot of headlines calling for that from Trump because he's now taking a side in the Russian-Ukraine war and is siding with Ukraine and threatening Putin with oil sanctions. What does Exxon and Chevron have to say about the current global geopolitical landscape in regards to oil? Because there's a lot there. I'm out of breath now. That is just a small smidgen of the earnings this week. So lots to look at. Lots to look at. Brandon, final thoughts.
Yeah, buy Google. I thought it was a good earnings report. I like the increase of revenue with the cloud the most, obviously. But one thing I didn't talk about already was the increase of the subscriptions, and the fact that that actually is going to help Google kind of mitigate the fact that the advertising revenue is so cyclical, right? So, when advertising revenue goes down because people are spending less money, the subscription numbers should hold up a little bit better than advertising revenue does. So that's very important for them to stabilize, the volatility of their earnings is to get that subscription revenue up, and that was like one of the biggest drivers for me to call the stock still a buy on the show right now was that subscription revenue. I like all three of the companies that I own, or that I just talked about. I own them. So I still think that they're all buys. Meta will be interesting for me. That's my largest holding. So
It
we'll
is,
see.
and it's one you've made a ton off of.
Yeah.
All right.
But you
Um,
know what? The bar was set so low for earnings going into these earnings reports, and now I wonder if we've kind of adjusted it now that 80% of companies have reported that might not be so good for Meta this week because now the expectations are higher.
they can be higher. They can be higher. Um, yeah. I don't have any big calls or buys this week, man. I tell you what, I'm gonna shift because I'm doing a hard transition here. I'm just gonna move forward. Robinhood is one I'm watching because now we've had like two full quarters of them, or three full quarters of them having these quote unquote option contracts, where it's basically betting on things. And I want to see how much money that is actually bringing in if they report it or if they just include it in with all their other option contracts and see what's going on there. But curious to see what they have to say. I'm really going to be, if I have to choose one on Wednesday after the bell, because there's so many to choose from. Robinhood's definitely one, and I'm with you, Meta. I'll definitely look at Meta just because AI, and I want to see, Zuckerberg's been very transparent on his AI expenditures and where he's spending his money, so I want to see what
Right.
he has to say. But pharmaceutical, that's where my focus is right now because of the news and articles I'm seeing is about that's going to be Trump's next focus after these trade deals wrap up. And I want to know what these healthcare companies are saying. You got United Healthcare, Cigna, CVS, a lot of big healthcare companies reporting this week. It's good to see what they're going to give on guidance going forward, and where if they feel like they're going to be able to argue against the current administration against these possible pharmaceutical changes or not. We'll
Gotcha.
see. All right. Well, thanks for listening. If you want to hit the subscribe button, we are on YouTube. We're on everywhere now. Well, thanks to Brandon Beaver right there. Thank you, Brandon. Fantastic job. He's one of the best analysts I've ever ran into as far as research and analyzing news and data I've ever met.
One
So,
of.
right. As always, we hope we have been entertaining, educational, and uplifting because we want everyone to make money. Have a good night.
If we were boring, it's because you're stupid. I'm just kidding. Have a good night. Where's the stop button? There it is.